Okay, welcome back to another episode of the Wills, Wealth, and Wisdom podcast. I'm Ouida Jones, here with my friend and amazing co-host, legal expert, and attorney per se, Cathe Evans-Williams.
Attorney per se, in fact, yes ma'am. I went to school, got the student loans to prove it. Okay, anyway. Hi everyone. We're glad to have you with us. Each week we aim to give you the tools and insights you need to protect your family, your assets, and your legacy.
That's right, that legacy. And today's topic is one that's absolutely essential to any estate plan, but often misunderstood.
Yes.
So it's really misunderstood. Powers of attorney.
Right. And so, you know what? Today we're going to explore what powers of attorneys are, how they work, and why choosing the right person to act on your behalf is one of the most important decisions you can make.
Yes, it is. Well, let us get this party started. I always like to start with the basics. Or in the case of a party, a slow dance. Hey, party. Cathe, what exactly is a power of attorney and why is it so important in the estate planning process?
All right. So you know what? Really, in short, power of attorney is a document that gives you the authority to name somebody else to handle your affairs if you can't do it or if you don't want to do it. Now, let me put some legal words around it. It is a legal document, right? And it grants the authority to let somebody else act on your behalf. And so you can have different kinds of powers of attorney.
Okay.
One could be one that covers financial. And in Illinois, we typically call that financial power of attorney or a power of attorney for property. And then we also have one for health care, right? And we traditionally call that a power of attorney for health care. And so those are really those two. One to cover your day-to-day business stuff, financial stuff, and the other to cover your health care stuff.
Got it. Okay, well, that makes sense. So I understand that there's more than one type of power of attorney, right? So can you walk us through the different types and how they work?
Right. So even within the two main types, right, the power of attorney for healthcare and the power of attorney for property, there are subtypes.
Got it.
Right?
Yep.
And so those subtypes include durable, springing, and limited. Let me break it down. Okay. All right. So durable means that it remains in effect even if you become incapacitated, right? And even more importantly, it can travel with you from state to state.
That sounds important.
Yes, and so you want to make sure that it is signed properly, and maybe we'll get into that a little bit later because I know people can pull stuff off the web. I got it. But each state has its own requirements, right? And so in order to make it durable, lasting forever, and in multiple states, you want to make sure that it's signed properly, notarized properly, that kind of thing. So that's what durable means.
Yeah.
Springing means I only want this thing to go into effect if I can't manage my own affairs. Springing. Okay. And if I can't manage my affairs only for a little while, as soon as I'm back, put that power of attorney authority down.
Oh, okay.
Springing. So it's here only when I need it and it goes away when I don't need it.
Fall back.
There's spring forward, fall back. Got it.
Yep.
Right? And then finally, limited. And so you can say, listen, I only want this person to have the authority to make these kind of decisions for me. Versus, I want this person to make all the decisions for me. So that's limited versus general.
Gotcha.
Limited, maybe I only want them to go to my closing for me. Right?
Like an attorney. Okay,
like,
gotcha.
right?
Real estate attorney. Got it. Yep.
General, hey, they can handle my real estate. They can handle my bank accounts. They can talk to Social Security. They can do everything for me.
Except that doesn't cover health care, right? That's just your financial affairs.
Exactly.
Okay, got
it. And it could be health as well. So you can have power of attorney for property, limited or general, and you can have power of attorney for health care, limited or general.
Oh, so if I'm going into surgery, I just want you for that surgery. I don't want you. Okay.
Correct.
Makes sense.
That is correct.
Okay.
Good.
Well, that's great info to have, Cathe. I really appreciate that. I hope everyone else does as well. I think people may confuse those different roles. For instance, can you explain the difference between a healthcare power of attorney and a financial? You kind of said a little bit about it, but I just want to make sure it's clear to everybody.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah. So, to be clear, a healthcare power of attorney is one that will speak to your doctors for you if you can't. They will allow you to, you will allow them rather to choose the medication for you. whether or not you're going to take certain treatment, right? That kind of thing. That's the healthcare power of attorney. And that's also the one who can handle some of your mental health decisions. You know, will you take psychotropic medications? Will you take electroconvulsive medications? Right? Right. And we'll get into some of these things become limited because you, as the principal, make these decisions for yourself. Right? When you're well. Absolutely. So the healthcare, think of health. It is what it sounds like. It's for your health. Financial is for money. Legal affairs. So if I have to pay my mortgage, you know, that's money. If I'm going to be placed into a nursing home, that's healthcare. But now when you say who's going to pay for it, that's money. Right? So they could intermingle. Okay. All right.
Okay. Well, I mean, that makes sense.
Good. And I was going to say, both of them, you want to make sure you're choosing the right person.
Hello.
Okay. I just want to choose the right one.
Yeah, I know we're going to talk about that.
It could be that the person who takes care of you the best, you know, they make sure that you are looking, you know, dressed to the nines, you know, all that. That might not be the person who can handle your bank account.
And often probably is not.
Right?
Yeah, you're right. You make a very good point there.
So you want to put the right player in the right position.
And hence the two different.
Yes.
Okay.
They could be the same, but they could be different.
That's true. And you make such a good point. Somebody who's dressing you up, making you pretty, may not be the person you want spending your money or taking care of your money.
Correct. Or that person who can actually help, you know, feed you. Or, you know, if you get to the point where you need diapers and that nurturing person might not be the analytical.
The financially responsible person.
Exactly. They could be the same, but they could be different.
That's true. Okay. All right. Well, I think that in important matters like these, choosing the right person is key, as you pointed out. And so thinking about that, what should people look for? You know, if you can give us a little help with that, what should people look for in the person they appoint for these different roles? Because we talked about, you know, that comforting versus that financially literate person, but either as their agent or attorney, in fact, I think we use that term.
Right.
Okay.
So really good because, you know, sometimes people say, well, I want to choose my oldest child because they're the oldest, and that's the one who should have the authority. But maybe the oldest child is the last one you should choose, right? Maybe they're the ones who weren't good with money or weren't good with you. Let's just keep it real. Not every child takes care of mom and dad. Not every child handles their own affairs. And so why would you allow them to handle your affairs
simply by
if they're not handling their own affairs properly, simply by birth order? Some of them say, well, I want my oldest son to handle everything, right? What I say is pick the right person for the job. If that's your youngest child, pick them. If that's your middle child, pick them. If all of your children don't stand in the line of responsibility, Ouida, choose somebody else.
And I know that'd be hard for a parent. I can imagine that being hard because they have to then, you know, maybe look a little closely at themselves and say, well, I can't my kids take care of me. But, I mean, again, do that. Do it, you know, rather than have somebody who is in a position of responsibility for you and they cannot handle it.
It's true. I mean, it's really, really true because you can love them to pieces, right? But if you have a son who's filed bankruptcy 3 times, you don't want him to be your power of attorney for property.
Did I tell you about somebody I know?
No.
Oh, okay. All right. As long as I ain't tell you nothing now.
Right. So, I mean, that's the realistic, real life. Choose the right person for the job because they're the right person, not because they're the oldest child or the oldest son or, you know, something like that. And so you want to make sure that they're trustworthy. Right? That they're responsible. They have good judgment. You know, that kind of stuff. And then, you know, when you're starting to talk about the power of attorney for healthcare, you don't want somebody who's going to cave under the pressure. Right? Oh, my gosh, look at mommy in the bed. I can't make a decision. Well, they need to make a decision. Right? So you want to choose somebody who's not going to cave under the pressure. And then also somebody who's available.
That's true.
Right? So you want to think about that. If it's a healthcare power of attorney and your son lives in Africa. You might not want to choose your son, at least not first. Choose somebody who's here because if there's an emergency situation that's jumping off, you want them to be able to get to the hospital and speak for you.
That's very true. That's very true. You don't want to have to make that long distance phone call that doesn't connect and you're in need of immediate care. You're right. You're right. That makes sense. So thinking about those things that you've just given us important information about. Let's talk about timing
Okay.
and control.
Okay.
So when do the powers of attorney take effect, and can somebody change their mind?
Yeah, so great question. We kind of touched on it a little bit earlier.
Mm-hmm.
A power of attorney can take effect right now, immediately,
Okay.
or it could be springing, right?
Yeah, that's springing thing.
Right, that's that springing thing. So I can say, you know what, my husband and I, we've been married for, let's say, 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
I might be declining just a little bit, not enough to where the attorney, has questions about my mental capacity.
Mm-hmm.
Not there. But, I just like having him around and him making my decisions. And he's been helping me for the last 2-3 years. And so I don't want the doctor to have to declare that I have a mental incapacity. Instead, I want him to just be able to make these decisions for me right now.
Okay.
Right? So that's immediate. Or, no, I want to make every last one of my decisions until the doctor says I don't have the mental capacity to make.
Okay. So a doctor would establish that. Okay, got it.
Right. And, that has implications, right? So if the doctor says you can't make these decisions, it could be then now you have to have a doctor saying you can return to making your own decisions.
Oh, even after that springing. Wow.
Right. And so you want to think about, who do I want to put in position to make these decisions and when?
Got it.
So again, immediate, they can just do it right now. And even if they do it right now, it doesn't mean that I can't make my own decisions.
Gotcha.
It just means that I don't need a doctor to say I can't make my own decisions.
Got you.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool. And then let me say something else.
Mm-hmm.
It should be signed.
Yeah.
Right?
Important.
Because, I do see a lot of folk who pull stuff off the web, or I got this from my doctor, and that's cool.
Yeah.
But you just want to make sure. Powers of attorneys usually don't need to be notarized, but they definitely need to be witnessed, right? Signed and witnessed. And the powers of attorneys for property need to be witnessed and notarized.
That makes sense, yeah. Because
Okay.
people can do some kind of, underhanded stuff.
Right,
Okay,
and then you
sketchy.
mentioned something. I want to make sure that I hit it. You mentioned, can it be revoked?
Yep.
Right? And the answer is yes. Anytime you are of sound mind, you can choose to say, you know what, I don't want that person to have that fiduciary capacity or that fiduciary authority.
Got it.
And let's say that I completed a power of attorney for healthcare, and I no longer want that person to speak for me. You just want to make sure that whoever you gave that power of attorney to, you give them the new one to replace it. Or you can even revoke it. But you're not going to revoke a power of attorney without doing another one. Right.
Okay. Got
right.
it. Okay.
Doesn't make sense.
Okay. And you said there has to be that mental competency. So that mental competency judgment applies to both parties, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, me and my agent. So
absolutely.
Yeah, we don't want crazy agents. We don't want crazy folks.
Don't say the word crazy
you're right.
now.
Yeah.
Don't say that
What
word.
do we call it now? Mentally challenged,
Yeah, right.
emotionally challenged, my IQ, EQ.
Right,
Anyway.
right.
All right.
You know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I do.
But
I do.
right, you can't. Like if you, for example, are in a car accident. Let me bring it down for a second.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you and your spouse, or you and the person that you trust the most, travel together.
I know, right?
And so if you're injured, you have a brain injury. They might be injured with a brain injury. They can't serve as your agent. So that opens up. You always want to think in levels of 2.
Got it.
Right? You're going to name somebody who can speak for you, but if they can't, then who? Okay.
So a minimum of 2.
A minimum
and
of 2.
I do this Tai Chi stuff, and they talk about 3s, and that's my lucky number. So, but 2 is a minimum.
Yes.
And for me, I'm thinking in terms of 3. So, okay, so it's clear that these documents carry a lot of power. These power of attorneys. What are some of the risks or limitations people should be aware of as they think about who should wield or hold that power in their lives? Because remember, when it is necessary for us to use these powers, we're going to be really vulnerable.
No, true. Right? I mean, really, really great question.
Yeah.
We know the benefits. You can still keep your life moving.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
By giving someone that you agree with and that, you trust to make these decisions. But what if you don't have that person? And you're just choosing the person because they're there to take care of you. Maybe that person there to take care of you is only there because they know you have some stuff.
Yeah.
And so their authority can be abused.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we do see that sometimes, right? And then sometimes, banks or institutions have their own forms that they want to see. So although you've gone through the hassle of getting your powers of attorneys done, that particular investment group might say, yeah, that's nice, but we want this one done. So now you have to do that one again. And then, if it wasn't properly drafted, I'm not knocking people who pull stuff off the web. I get it. Who wants to spend extra money if they don't want to? But if it wasn't done correctly, then you're going to have to, not be able to use it. You're going to have to go ahead and get another one done, really, by an attorney.
Yeah, I mean, long story short, So again, this mental competency just keeps coming in my head because I'm trying to be mentally competent, right? While we're mentally competent, or at least think we are, it's important that we keep all of what you said in mind, right? So, and finally, how can someone make sure their powers of attorney are legally valid and reflect their current wishes?
Good, current wishes. I mean, that's perfect. Well, one, as an attorney, I'm going to tell you, work with an attorney.
Yeah.
Okay, work with an attorney, because, that's what we do. Right, if you're pulling it off the web or if you're getting it from your friend, it might not be what you need at that time. So work with an attorney. And then, your desires might change. And so you want to review your documents every few years, every 3 to 5 years, to make sure that the person that you named, you still want them to be in that position.
Still like them.
Right? You still like them, you still trust them.
Yeah,
right?
That's true.
And they still have the ability to do it. And they still want to do it. Okay? And then, you want to make sure that you keep these documents in a flood-proof, fire-proof safe, or a safety deposit box, someplace safe, right? So that they don't just get, torn up or fired up or, burnt up or wet or something like that. And then you also want to keep an electronic copy.
Yes, I always scan stuff, so that makes all the sense in the world, and make sure people know where that stuff is.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, well, Cathe, that was incredibly helpful, and I'm sure it put a lot of stuff on people's minds and our listeners' minds. So after hearing this info, if it does not give you pause, you may want to revisit that admonition about mentally competent. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, if you ain't thinking right now, you might want to look that up. So powers of attorney really are the backbone of any good estate planning. Now, our listeners know why.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, definitely. And you know what? These documents give you control. So even when you can't speak for yourself, you can put somebody in a position to speak for you, somebody that you trust. And so the key is to do this before you need them.
Very much so.
Before you need them. You can't be mentally challenged and create a document. These are contracts. You have to create this before you need it.
That's it.
That's all I'll say.
That's what we're saying for our listeners. This is all about putting a plan in place before you need that plan. So if today's episode helped you understand powers of attorney a little better, be sure to share it with someone you love, and don't forget to subscribe.
Yes, and each week we're here to help you take the guesswork out of estate planning and build a future that reflects your values.
Until next time, take care and plan with purpose.
All right, your hosts today were Ouida Jones, Illinois licensed realtor with HomeSmart Realty Group of Orland Park. You can reach Ouida at ojones.realtor@gmail.com.
And my friend Cathe Evans-Williams, managing attorney at the Evans-Williams Law Group. You can learn more about her at her website, tewlg.com.
Thanks for joining us on the Wills, Wealth, and Wisdom podcast.
We'll see you in the next episode.